Hi, my name is Phil West. I'm here from Microsoft to talk about Microsoft Teams and how you can choose the best audio quality and the best device choice for your specific needs in your business. I'm showing a picture of Satya Nadella. Satya is our CEO, and one of the things that has come to pass after our 2019 to 2020 conversion, as we look at a new decade, obviously the key factor going forward is digital transformation. Obviously, nobody foresaw 2020 and the change that it would require in our business. It was a monumental year, and not only from a healthcare perspective, but also from a learning perspective. We went from a situation of dire medical circumstances, and we had to do several things. We had to treat from a healthcare perspective. We had to embolden our students to go do a new way of learning. We had to reimagine how working was going to look. We had to keep going so that we had the resources and the abilities to fight. Now, lockdowns and mandates were very localized. The choices that were made are still very localized. We're never really going to look at 2020 the same way. Before 2020, we had a workforce that was kind of mixed. Lots of people in offices, bricks and mortar, a lot of people from home, a lot of people working remote, travelers. Now all of a sudden, we see the concept of remote or virtual work or telework. We all see that now as that's part of our normal vernacular. People are using the virtual this and that all the time. We see things like, how do we address our customers, whether they might be patients, they might be partners, they might be our customers that purchase something from us, vendors, it could be students, citizens. Also the personal part of this. How do I interact with my friends and family? How do I do more virtual communications? All of a sudden now virtual has become the new norm. More online meetings are happening today than ever. I think you can see just from the usage statistics of any of the major platforms. They're off the charts. We're seeing more and more reliance upon technologies. This meeting itself, 2 years ago, we would probably have met somewhere in a nice hotel. We would walk from room to room, talk to each other. We'd have an unbelievable audiovisual team that's all working together to make all this work. Now, it's, hey, I'm in my home office, got my computer, and I'm trying to deliver to you the same message, the same information that I would have normally done in person. Yeah, we're not really suffering on quantity of meetings. We're suffering on quality. We're suffering on a productive meeting. I tell people this a lot. People's schedules, you know from your own schedule how you're blocked hour by hour, meeting after meeting in some cases. Yeah, we're not suffering from just too few meetings. We're actually maybe suffering from too many meetings and meetings that potentially aren't very productive. Now, as we think about our workforce, 80% of the global workforce now is actually a frontline worker. These workers might be inspectors that deal with health and power, utilities. They might be remote workers that are in varying phases of logistics and distribution. They might be factory workers. They're a hybrid. Some are in a facility, some are outside of facilities, some are at home. What we worry about is how effective are those first line workers, those frontline individuals, those employees, how are they really seeing a productivity increase? Like, are we able to maintain the same level of productivity? One of the things we find out is about a quarter of those are stating they don't really have the right technology to do their job. They don't feel connected. They don't feel like they've got technology. That could be computing technology, whatever. But think about this. Every different job has probably got some sort of communication they need to maintain, whether it is to the constituent, the citizen, the student, the patient, whomever, or is it back to their facility? Was it within their own team? Our goal is to find out how can we take what we know is a new way of working, and how do we make that into a more efficient way of working? One of the things we've often found out is, I think you could probably agree with this, is about 30% of employees now are complaining of burnout. Too many meetings, there's too much there. There's blurred lines potentially between when does the day start and when does it end, and what really is a weekend. That's a problem we've got around quantity typically. How many times do you have meetings back to back to back? There's no breaks. There's no real focus on the person. It's always around getting to the next meeting and so forth. Very few people, by the way, in your job description probably has somewhere in there attend X number of meetings every week. Maybe, but I doubt it. Most people are trying to deliver a product, a service, some sort of interaction, some sort of engagement, gathering information, trying to work together as a team. Meetings are just a way of trying to accomplish an end goal. There's a psychological impact to that. The psychological impact is not just too many meetings, but maybe meetings that are inefficient. You kind of scratch your head going, not really sure what's going on here. Or even worse, technical difficulties in a meeting that are just causing the meeting to be unusable. One of the things we want to think about is, what can we do as we equip our employees, we equip our partners, as we're working together, what can we do to help our employees kind of feel reinvigorated, recharged? How can we help them prioritize exactly how to get to a meeting and be efficient? Stop wasting time, stop worrying about technology pieces and what's working, what's not, or distractions. How do we make them efficient? One of the things I think is so important, 60% of the people are say, hey, we're less connected. I don't think that's a surprise. What does that mean? Obviously, we're less connected. We're not in the offices. We're not going back to a water cooler or a coffee maker or whatever. We're not joining somebody before a meeting or after a meeting in the hallway and talking and conversing, maybe even having lunch together. Remember what that was like? What we're seeing now is, what happens to the people who have to go to these virtual meetings? Are they prepared? I got to be honest with you. I ask myself 3 questions every time there's a meeting. Number 1, do I even need to go? Is there something there that is part of my purpose and mission and goals for my company? What am I going to get out of the meeting? Is there something that I'm going to learn from this meeting and something I can use in my job? And then number 3 is, what can I contribute to the meeting? Maybe as a specific authority on something, I can go and help others. I think about those things. I want to come to a meeting that I'm prepared to come to. So it's kind of the content part of the meeting. Secondly is, am I equipped for the meeting? And are everybody else invited to the meeting? Are they equipped for the meeting? Equipment actually is a very important part of our decision of how we manage a meeting and how we keep our workforce engaged and productive. How do we keep them efficient? Now, distractions are one of those things that we often face. We just, even if you were in the office, you had somebody that would barge into the conference room and, oops, not me, slam the door and leave. That happened. With homework, I think one of the things we often see is maybe one of my kids comes in to ask a homework question. Maybe the dog pounces through. Maybe the cat jumps up on the keyboard. Those are distractions. And to be honest with you, maybe a year ago, I would have been mortified if something in the background had caused that kind of a confusion in a meeting. I think we've all come to do so many meetings that we kind of know it's part of real life. This is IRL for meetings. Now, I got to be honest with you. If your dog comes in during a meeting and he wants to bark and jump up on you, I'm really happy about that. But I will tell you, if a dog barks for 60 minutes of a meeting, that's probably distracting. I think you would agree. So we have to figure out, how do we take what's real life and then determine how much of it becomes a distraction and how can we address that? That gets people, as I mentioned before, around a diversity and inclusion perspective. How do I get multiple people who feel like I'm equipped to contribute? I have the right technology to contribute. I can hear good. I can hear well. I have the ability to understand what's happening in a meeting and also to react to it. Again, if I sit there in a meeting, just like I mentioned before, number 2 is, what do I get out of a meeting? If I don't contribute back to a meeting, unless it's a training session, I kind of feel like, why did I really attend? I could have listened to a recording of it. We talk about meetings, live events, in terms of what are we really going to engage with? So I also think about it from a culture perspective. Some individuals might feel that I don't really feel comfortable in really speaking up. I don't really want to turn my video on. You can see my office is not extremely neat. I don't want people to see that. That's a culture issue. Some affect some different ways. But what the foundation piece of this is how are you hearing me? How does the audio come through? Audio is a two-way street. We all know this. There's a transmitter and a receiver. As a transmitter, I want to make sure I've got the equipment that meets my personal needs, that I'm comfortable with, but also as the receiver, I want to make sure that the quality is getting through, that background noise and that interactions that might be distracting can be pulled away from the entire meeting. And that's really where, as we walk through this, we want to make sure that at Microsoft we have a portfolio of devices that can be used in a team scenario to make effective teams and how that meeting experience is beneficial to both the transmitter and the receiver. Now, Microsoft doesn't do this alone. Microsoft makes some products. You might have a choice where maybe you like the Surface earbuds. Maybe that's your choice. Some people might say, we don't want anything in my ear. There's tons of our partners. Like, for example, EPOS has this capability here with a kind of a wireless headset. Okay? I kind of get almost like a gamer. I have a headset where I have the ears, I have the boom mic. I can walk around an office if I need to, but maybe that's where I get the best quality. Maybe this gives me the best background noise cancellation because of an environment that I'm in. Yeah, we have some that, for example, we have Surface earphones. We have some people that might say, hey, I like this because of some of the capabilities that are built in, some of the additional functions. I get a better experience maybe because I get some bigger earpieces to cover things. There's a wide variety. As I mentioned before, this is very unique. I have to understand from the transmitter's point of view, what kind of environment are they in? What kind of personal preferences do they have? I'm using one of these, for example. This is the EPOS. It's the line where it's a desktop device, so I can lay it on my desktop. It acts as my speaker, as my microphone. It has capabilities that are built into it specifically for Teams, like this little Teams light over here that's kind of reminding me you got a voicemail that you need to go check. So it's kind of a reminder back, and I can just pop that button, takes me right back into my Teams experience and says, hey, here's what we're blinking about. Here's what we're flashing about. We want you to understand this. This is really kind of that connected experience. It's a great thing because to me, kind of visual. I look over, I see it, boom, I remember, oh, I got to go check that. There are others. For example, they even have these desktop devices that go in a conference room. It's really designed for a relatively medium to large size conference room that you could put in the middle and you could interact. Remember, even when we go back in the office, we still have social distancing. We might have a conference room that used to sit 25 people, might be 8, 6, I don't know, in there now. You want to have a device that's able to pick up a wide array of floor plan, real estate, but still give you the right audio quality. These are capabilities that we have to think about as we're working with our employees. Where's the employee at? What is the employee's interaction? What are they doing as part of their meeting? Is it typically based on if they're frontline workers? Are they just listening a lot? Are they communicating back? Is it kind of a half duplex or a full duplex conversation, if you know what I mean? Half duplex, something like a training event where we want people to understand a topic and we go through things. Maybe it's like a town hall meeting with an executive. But then there's those meetings that are many to many. That's the most effective ones, where people are interacting with each other, where that diversity and inclusion, even from a technology point of view, are marrying together, and we're getting a good, efficient meeting. We're having things where we're contributing, where we're gaining information, but we also have to think about how do we do that with the right level of audio quality. I'll tell you this, I get on calls sometimes, and when the audio starts to fade, jitter, whatever, my tech brain goes back to, I wonder what the problem really is. Is it the device? Is it background noise where they're at? Is it quality of service on the internet? Or is there packet loss and jitter? I kind of go back to my nerd days to try to figure why there's a problem. What I've done is I've stopped listening, and I'm just hearing kind of the bits and pieces, lost syllables maybe here and there, a drop off. I think our brains are attuned to where we really want to do that. We want to try to piece together the missing points in a conversation, that audio. We want to try to take the missing pieces and try to stitch them together so we can understand, hey, what was that person saying? And we often, in doing that, we might lose the context of the communication. Now in video drops out for a frame or two or freezes. Our brains kind of work around that. As long as we hear the conversation moving, our brains can kind of work around that. What we found is, in the audio world, that's really the foundation. That's the table stakes to making a really good experience. We want to make that meeting an experience. It's efficient. It's effective. It's inclusive. It has the right interaction amongst people. People feel like they're empowered and equipped to join that meeting and really make a contribution. So as you think about creating an inflection point, a decision point, you're going to need to choose the right audio technology, the right devices. not only for the workplace, but for those remote workers, those virtual workers. So we want you to choose the right audio technology for your business, the right technology for your employees, the right technology for your future. And you're able to choose that right now. You have the capability of using the Microsoft Teams platform and a plethora of devices. And understand, when you go to choose those device partners, find one that has a broad spectrum of devices that are very personal, things that would match a person's specific requirements, specific needs, maybe just preferences, so that they feel equipped to come to that meeting and truly be engaged. Thank you very much for your time today. Again, my name is Phil West from Microsoft.